One of the main criticisms I keep hearing about the newest Berserk Chapter 380 is that Guts is acting out of character. And I can understand to some degree hating seeing Guts in this position, and I definitely do as well. It's sad, it's depressing, but it's where the story needs to be right now. When you talk about being out of character, it's strange to me because if you look at the entire series of Berserk, from start to finish, beginning with Black Swordsman, the Golden Age, everything that we've been through, there are so many different instances where you could throw frames of Guts side by side and say that he is being out of character. It depends on what place in the story that we currently are, whether or not Guts' actions are making any kind of sense. I mean, I imagine there's probably people that read the Black Swordsman arc, and then when we get that one iconic panel after Guts tells Theresa to go kill herself, he turns around and starts to cry. Is that out of character? Hell, there have been people that have said after reading the Golden Age arc that all of Black Swordsman is out of character. There's moments of Guts being angry and standoffish, willing to put even children in danger to accomplish his goals. And then later on, there's moments where Guts is kindly placing the hat back on Shiraki's head and enjoying the fact that his entire group can have at least a night of rest. Guts has been hopeful, Guts has been depressed, and of course Guts has ridden on waves of rage and anger in order to take down some of the monsters that he faces. He's made horrendous mistakes with himself. He's gone on moments where he's not been able to eat or sleep and has been delirious, not to mention the fact that he deals with tons of trauma and negative emotions that none of us could really understand being in a situation as exaggerated as the world of Berserk. The story has gone in many different places. It has had Guts be a loner wandering by himself on a mission of revenge. It has also had him be a member of an entire mercenary team, growing heavy friendships along the way. It has had him fall in love with Casca, and it has had him broken beyond repair. It has thrown him into a bunch of battles that have taken its toll on his body and his mind. It has also thrown him into a leadership and protector role. And with all of this to say that Guts has ran the gamut of human emotion throughout the entire series. Depending on where you are reading currently, you are potentially reading an entirely different version of Guts, and this can basically be boiled down to its simplest explanation of character development. This is storytelling. The character is meant to change throughout the course of the story and not just maintain the same status quo. And if Guts was the exact same person throughout the entire course of the manga, which is now over 40 volumes, that would probably be pretty damn boring. It's good to see him go through a variety of different versions of himself, ultimately healing and growing stronger along the way. Now, where we are currently in the manga, as I said, I can understand people being upset. And I also think that when we only get 3 chapters a year, and it's been a really long time in our real time, multiple years at this point, since we've seen Guts stand up and fight back against something, I can definitely see how it can be frustrating to get a new chapter and to still have Guts be as down and out as he is. In fact, this is nothing new. I've heard this with the Berserk fandom ever since I started talking about the manga. I remember all of the chapters in Elfhelm where people were saying nothing is happening, even though we were experiencing some of the best storytelling in the entire manga with Casca's Dreamscape and beyond, but that's besides the point. I think that fans can get easily frustrated when we don't get a lot of content and we're left to kind of stew in where we are with the characters right now for months and months at a time. It's a lot different when you're getting into the story for the first time and you're able to binge read hundreds of chapters at once. But then when you're stuck waiting with the rest of us, when we get a new chapter and Guts doesn't advance that far, or maybe you're not seeing the Guts that you came to know and love back in the Conviction arc or whenever you like the series the most, it can seem a little bit frustrating and disappointing. But I don't think where Guts is right now is necessarily out of character. I think it makes sense to where he is right now. And also we have to remember that characters in the story don't know all of the information that we as the readers know. The one thing that people point to is that if Guts believes that Casca is alive and that he could save her, that Guts would be more motivated to get up and fight. My two counterpoints to this would be, number one, Guts has no incentive whatsoever to believe that Casca is still alive. For all he knows, Griffith threw her to the dogs and she's long gone by now, traveled halfway across the world to Falconia within a kingdom that is, as far as Guts knows, filled to the brim with apostles, and he knows what the apostles did to Casca the last time that they were around. Guts doesn't really know the full extent of the Moonlight Boy either. All he saw was the boy transform into Griffith and then Griffith carry Casca away. What's he to think in this situation? There have been two things that have kept Guts going throughout this entire journey. One is his sword, and the other is Casca. And the journey to get Casca healed was the longest and most grueling journey of the entire manga, going all the way to Elfhelm, managing to get her healed, and even afterwards not even being able to talk and communicate with her. Casca was the light in Guts' darkness, and this has been shown numerous times, and it was even directly stated by Godo, so removing Casca from the equation would of course break Guts down beyond the shadow of a doubt. Even after the eclipse, Casca, of course her mind was broken, but she was at least still living. So if Casca is gone and Guts has no good reason to believe that she is still alive or that he would have any potential to save her, that's the first thing. And the second thing is that the other thing that Guts was able to rely on, that was the thing keeping him going, was his ability to fight and swing his sword. In the fight with Griffith that he had on Elfhelm, the sword phased right through him and didn't seem to do any damage. And if we are to believe that there was a strand of hair that was cut off, I don't think either Guts or Griffith even noticed this. But again, this is the difference between what we as the audience and the readers observe and what the characters in the story observe and understand. From Guts' point of view, Casca is gone, and his sword has failed him. He spent the most grueling journey of his life to bring Casca to Elfhelm to heal her, and the moment that happened, Casca was taken away, and Elfhelm was destroyed into nothing. There was a time that Guts fell into rage in order to deal with his problems. His mission of vengeance was his declaration. It was his guiding force. But there is only so long that you can let rage rule you. At some point, the energy burns out. At some point, the despair overpowers it. And I think where we are in the story after everything that has happened makes sense for Guts to finally be at that ultimate breaking point where he can no longer rely on rage and he can no longer rely on Casca to be the light in his darkness. To this point, he is lost. Now, yes, he still has friends, and yes, he still has a group of people that believe in him, but we need to reach the character's breaking point in order to make the catharsis of Guts standing up and grabbing a sword once again all that more meaningful. I'd hate to break the illusion, but at the end of the day, this is storytelling. The character needs to hit their lowest point in order for us as the audience to watch them rise up again and have it matter. If it's just the same repetitive, something happens and Guts gets angry, goes on a vengeance quest, we're not really telling a story, we're just repeating the same thing over and over. The development of Guts has been vastly different all over the course of the manga. Black Swordsman, Golden Age, Conviction, Millennium Empire, Fantasia arc, all of these arcs have different versions of Guts as he's changed over time. If we truly are reaching the climax of the story and heading into the final act, I do think it's important to break our main character down to his lowest point in order to have that catharsis of watching him rise back to the top. Guts has to deal with his own inner demons. He has to deal with the Beast of Darkness. He has to deal with the thought of losing Casca. He has to deal with the pain and struggle of life and retain his humanity. That, I think, is the core essence of the story and always has been, is how can we go through horrible things in life and still hold on to ourselves and still manage to struggle forward in the face of it all, in the face of evil, in the face of darkness, in the face of the world breaking you down, in the face of everybody wanting you defeated, in the face of you feeling lesser than everybody else, and knowing, similar to when Guts fell and was surrounded by wolves when he was a child, looking up in the moon and thinking that he would probably be better off dead, something in him made him stand back up. And I do truly believe there will be something in the story, whether it's finding out Casca is still alive, whether it's his friend's encouragement, or whether it's my heavy cope that Chich will somehow return in his jail cell to mimic the past flashback. That'll never actually happen. But my point is, this is not the end-all be-all for Guts. This is not where Guts is going to be the entire rest of the story. And if you think that, well, maybe go back and reread it from the beginning. In fact, I could probably use that myself. In short, I don't think Guts is acting out of character, and I don't think that Koji Mori and the rest of the team is doing a bad job by portraying Guts in this fashion. I think that this part of the story was probably always planned, and this will not be the end of Guts' journey. He will stand up again, and he will swing his sword once again, but it will be a different, more reinvigorated, smarter, wiser Guts when it does happen.